I just can't say enough how it's a bit of a head scratcher for me that Dylan Sampson has not gotten more national notoriety out of what he's done this year. And I know he got named AP SEC Player of the Year, but if that's not an All-American type of effort with Ashton Genty being the other one, I don't know what is. So we'll see if that comes out. But just from a national perspective, it doesn't seem like he's getting the love, so to speak. And I don't know why that is. Is that because he plays running back and that position has been even more devalued since the last time Tennessee went through a situation like this, which would be Alvin Kamara and Jalen Hurd?
I think it's because people are still, and for those questioning, Dylan Sampson was named AP SEC Player of the Year. I think there is a question over, and this is where I think it really stands out, Dave. I think people are having a hard time understanding how a running back is the biggest star in Tennessee's offense. They still see the Josh Heupel offense from 2 years ago.
Well, so I'm very interested that you see it that way because I didn't know that you would. And that was my angle. I believe, Cooper kind of slipped up. And if you haven't watched the Vol Report lately, do so. It's brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, 50 years in East Tennessee. Integrity matters. cityheatandair.com. He said something that as an offensive lineman, you're not supposed to ever say, right? You're not supposed to say, man, when he's in there, we really block hard for him. Because there should be no difference in who you block hard for.
No, there shouldn't.
Now, I've seen situations where a guy was a horse's A and he didn't get the best blocking. And
RG3.
Yeah, but I've seen it even up close. And usually those guys get over that in a short amount of time. I've seen other players, too, that I don't care what you say, that the offensive line has taken an onus on protecting this young man and making sure that he'll have success. The most obvious example is Travis Stevens in 2001, who by all accounts was not big enough to have one of the greatest seasons in Tennessee running back history. Well, now Dylan Sampson has done the same. And Dylan Samson should be held in incredibly high regard. I hate to say this because it's like the curse of death. I think he's a perfect fit for a tailback nowadays in the NFL. He reminds me of Troy Pollard a little bit. I think he's going to do well, but the problem is they're just not valued as much as they should be. But listen, if you want a little something extra in your locker room, then Dylan Sampson's a running back you need to pick if you're in the NFL.
Yeah, so Dylan Sampson, to me, I think you think, and we talked about this earlier in the year, Cooper Mays, funny enough, himself talked about how Dylan Sampson was a leader, which we had never heard from a running back before.
He was the first to tell us that way back in 2021, actually.
Yes, he did. I think Dylan Sampson, because he's a leader, I think there is a vibe that there is players who, I don't think it's purposeful, but I think if you really love a guy, you do just block a little extra for him that day. I mean, you see that for a head coach, Dave, haven't you? Haven't you seen head coaches that players play a little bit harder for because they really love their head coach? And just there's kind of like, I mean, look, whatever else you can say about Ed Orgeron, I think players play hard for him because they did love him.
Here's what I think he does. I think he inspires them because he's not the biggest guy in the world. And he's not as small as Travis Stevens, so I don't want to over compare there, but he is not the biggest guy. So when he takes punishment, Caleb. And I think he's good at a couple of different things. And I think even though one of those offensive linemen may never tell him as much, he has made them look better on tape. He is very good at reading his blockers. There have been times where they've made mistakes and he's made them look better on tape. Now, an astute NFL scout's going to say, well, no, he kind of got some help there. But anybody that just takes a look at it, they're going to say, wow, this guy can really run. And so I think he's helped them on tape as well. And I think that makes you want to block harder for somebody.
No, I totally agree. Let's compare real quick, just going all the way back. I'm looking at the AP Players of the Year. The last running back from the SEC to be named AP Player of the Year, Dave, was Kerryon Johnson at Auburn in 2017.
Okay.
Before that, Derrick Henry in 2015. Before that, Trey Mason at Auburn in 2013. And sorry, I can't say this with a straight face. Trent Richardson in 2011. And Mark Ingram in 2009. But Tim Tebow, Mark Ingram split it in 2009, interestingly enough. Coaches gave it to Tebow. AP gave it to Mark Ingram. The AP was right. Mark Ingram had a better year in 2009 than Tim Tebow did. But Trent, if you guys notice, it's a bit of a mixed bag on the success of being on this list as a running back, because Trent Richardson is the absolute worst running back in the history of running backs.
Congratulations. Your home search just got easier. Chattanooga Mortgage, buying a home in Chattanooga has never been easier. They'll help you fix your credit as well. Again, Chat Mortgage, chat with 2 T's, mortgage.com. What are the tailbacks that you just read off have in common that did not have success in the NFL?
The ones that didn't have success in the NFL?
Did not have success. Give me the ones that did not have success.
I would say Kerryon Johnson didn't have any real success. Trent Richardson didn't have any real success. And Trey Mason didn't have any real success. All of them made the NFL. Trey Mason had a good rookie year. He had like 765 yards, but not much after that. But yeah, the 2 Auburn running backs and Trent Richardson.
Well, other than Trey Mason, he's not going to fit this, but I just wondered how many were power backs. And I wonder if that's something that Tennessee brings up to its running backs in recruiting, is you're not going to get hit nearly as much, and you're going to learn the NFL game. Whereas I think you would agree, Trent Richardson, Mark Ingram, those guys were going to run between the tackles, and that they were only going to learn how to play one style of football, essentially.
Yeah. Ingram is, to me, like a lesser Derrick Henry in the NFL. Not as tall, obviously, but he's had success. I think what combines them all, Trent Richardson, Trey Mason, and Kerryon Johnson, is this. They were just a product of who they played for. Trent Richardson ran behind the greatest offensive line in maybe SEC football history that year in Alabama. And Kerryon Johnson and Trey Mason, Dave, you know Gus Malzahn's offense. There's always going to be a running back that gashes you for lots of yards in that offense. And so I think that's all that happened in those 2 seasons. So those are Gus Malzahn's 2 best seasons at Auburn. And in both instances, lots of yards were gained by the running back. I don't think it meant anything, though. So I don't know, like Dylan Sampson, you can't really call it you can't call this the result of a system. Does that make sense?
Oh, no, totally. This is about the way he reads offenses and the way he reads defenses, the way he makes cuts. And same thing for Travis Stevens in 2001. Now, I don't know that that'll transfer to the NFL necessarily because of size, but no, I think it was actually more about their ability than it was about the rest of the team's ability. I didn't feel like the rest of the team ever scared you to the point where you started feeling like you had to get people out of the box.
Yeah, exactly. And the last Tennessee running back to be named SEC Player of the Year was, you ready for this? Yes.
The last SEC.
The last Tennessee running back to be named SEC Player of the Year.
Oof. I'm going to go with Travis Henry.
No. That year, 2000, Rudy Johnson at Auburn won it.
I thought you said the last Tennessee one.
Yeah, the last Tennessee running back to be named SEC Player of the Year.
Okay. And that goes back to 2000?
No, this goes back to the founding of the SEC.
Oh, okay. Well, that's more difficult to get. And that was Rudy Johnson?
Well, Rudy Johnson won SEC Player of the Year in 2000 when you said Travis Henry. But I'm saying, like, Rudy Johnson won it in 2000. Rex Grossman won it in 2001 because you would think Travis Stevens would have won it in 2001. But Rex Grossman, I mean, to be fair, that was the best year a Steve Spurrier quarterback had. Better than any year Danny Werfel even had at Florida. But no, the last Tennessee running back to be named SEC Player of the Year was Johnny Majors in 1956. That's who Dylan Sampson's in company with.
Pretty good stuff.